Eleanor, you've checked your watch 3 times since you got here. Are you expecting an important call, or are you just timing my tea steeping skills?
Neither, Arthur, neither. It's just habit. It's a phantom limb, this schedule of mine. My body still feels the rhythm of a life that isn't there anymore. For 40 years, my day was chopped into 30-minute blocks. Meetings, quarterly reports, product lunches, a constant forward momentum. My feet hit the floor at 6 a.m. with the mental list already running. Now I have whole days that are just one big, undefined block of time. It's unsettling. I invent errands just to have a destination. Yesterday, I drove to 3 different grocery stores looking for a specific brand of olive oil I didn't even need. The day before, I alphabetized the spice rack. Again. It's not about the spices. It's about imposing order on the chaos of an empty day. I feel like I should be doing something, anything, just to prove the day wasn't a waste.
Or maybe you're finally free not to do something. Perhaps the greatest productivity of this new season is learning to be unproductive. It's a skill, really, just like learning an instrument. It feels clumsy and discordant at first. You hit all the wrong notes. You try to sit still and your mind screeches with 100 thoughts. But with practice, you find the melody. You learn the simple chords of just being. And that ability to just be is what we're going to talk about today on Second Act Stories. For all of you listening who, like my dear friend Eleanor here, are struggling with the guilt of having free time, who feel that phantom limb of a packed calendar, we're going to explore the joy of the in-between moments and why doing nothing might be the most productive thing you can do for your soul.
The joy of doing nothing, huh? You're gonna have to sell me on that one, Arthur. Right now, it just feels like waiting, and I'm not sure what I'm waiting for. It feels like standing on a train platform after the last train has already left. The station is empty, the lights are buzzing, and you're the only one there. It's more unnerving than peaceful. There's a profound sense of having missed something, of being left behind.
I will. Let's start here. Think back, Eleanor. In that whirlwind of a career when you were running your department, what was the absolute best part of your day?
Oh, that's easy. After a big product launch, not the celebration party with the champagne and the speeches, it was that quiet hour in the office after everyone had gone home. The phones were finally silent, the screens were dark, the frantic energy of the last few weeks had just evaporated. I'd lean back in my chair, put my feet up on my desk, and just sit there in the stillness. I could feel the tension just melting away from my shoulders, a nodding one vertebrae at a time. I'd just breathe. The air even tasted different, lighter. All I could smell was that faint ozone smell from the computers and, the coffee that had gone cold hours ago. It was perfect. The sound of a battle won. The beautiful, echoing silence of a finished chapter.
Exactly. That was a moment of pure nothing. You weren't analyzing data or planning the next campaign. You were simply being present in the aftermath of great effort. That quiet wasn't empty. It was full of accomplishment, relief, and presence. The stillness had a texture, a weight. We have the chance to live in that feeling now, but we've forgotten how. We see an empty schedule, and instead of feeling peace, we panic. We've been conditioned to see empty space as wasted space, like an unplowed field in a farming community. I wonder if our listeners feel that too, that sense of panic when the calendar is clear, as if you've been cast adrift without a paddle.
Panic is a strong word, but anxiety for sure. A low grade of it all day long. It's this internal buzzing that says, you're wasting time, you could be organizing the garage, you could be volunteering more, you could be learning Mandarin. It feels lazy, it feels wrong. In this country, you work hard, you provide, you build, you achieve. That's the ethos. We were taught that idle hands are the devil's workshop. My father used to say that all the time. Benjamin Franklin's time is money. It's baked into our DNA. I remember telling my father I was taking a mental health day once in my 30s. He looked at me as if I'd grown a second head. "You mean a sick day?" he asked. The concept of resting to prevent illness was completely foreign to him. Rest was something you did when you were broken, not something you did to stay whole. It implies that if you're not actively creating or producing, you're somehow inviting trouble, or at the very least, you're failing at your duty.
And that feeling is universal, Eleanor. Whether you were running a boardroom, managing a classroom full of children, caring for patients on a 12-hour shift, running a household, or working on a factory line, that phantom schedule haunts us all. The ethos you're talking about served us well. It's rooted deep in the American identity, going all the way back to the Puritan work ethic. The idea that hard work is a moral virtue, that your worth is tied to your output. It built industries and put food on our tables. But the workshop is closed now, Eleanor. The shift is over. What do we do when the very thing that defined our moral worth is no longer required? You know, I was reading about the culture in Italy. They have a concept that I just fell in love with, and it's the perfect antidote to the devil's workshop. It's called Dolce Far Niente, the sweetness of doing nothing.
The sweetness of doing nothing. Sounds like a fancy, romanticized excuse for a nap.
It can certainly include a nap, and what a glorious nap it would be. But it's so much more than that. It's about pleasure in the absence of obligation. It's sitting at a cafe and truly tasting your coffee, the bitterness, the aroma, the warmth, not just using it as fuel to get to the next task. It's the tradition of the passeggiata, the evening stroll, where entire towns come out to just walk with no destination, simply to see and be seen, to connect, to breathe the evening air. It's watching the world go by without feeling the need to participate in its rush, to judge it or to document it. I remember being in a small piazza in Umbria once. I watched an old man spend a full 20 minutes just observing a cat that was sleeping in a sunbeam. He wasn't bored. He was captivated. There was a gentle smile on his face. He was completely absorbed in a moment that had zero productive value. In Italy, this isn't seen as a luxury. It's a respected part of life, essential for well-being. A long, leisurely Sunday lunch that lasts for 4 hours is not a waste of a day. It is the day. The purpose is the connection, the food, the moment. Here, we see a person sitting on a park bench on a Tuesday afternoon, and we might think, don't they have something to do? An Italian might see the same person and think, they know how to live. It's a complete reversal of values.
I suppose that makes sense. My grandfather, who came from Germany, was the absolute opposite of that. Work, work, work. Efficiency was everything. He had a workshop in his basement, and even at his 80s, he was down there fixing things that weren't broken, just to keep his hands busy. He'd tighten loose screws on chairs that were perfectly sturdy. He'd sand down a piece of wood for a project he'd never start. It was motion for the sake of motion. There was no sweetness in doing nothing. There was only guilt in not doing enough. He built a good life, a successful one, but I don't remember him ever just sitting, not without a newspaper or a project in his hands. I wonder if that's a Northern European thing versus a Southern European thing. The Protestant work ethic versus Catholic acceptance of simple being.
I think you're onto something profound there. The cultural programming runs incredibly deep. Look at Sweden with their concept of fika, the coffee break. It's institutionalized. It's a pause, yes, but it's a structured, purposeful pause for social connection. It has a goal. In France, the long lunch is sacred. a 2-hour affair, but it's still a structured part of the workday. Dolce Far Niente is different. It's unstructured. It's aimless on purpose. Or consider Japan. They have the frightening concept of karoshi, which is death from overwork. But in retirement, many strive to find their ikigai, their reason for being. It could be pottery or gardening or mentoring. I saw a documentary about an elderly man in a tiny Kyoto suburb whose ikigai was the meticulous care of the moss in his garden. It was his entire world, a universe in a few square feet. He wasn't trying to sell the moss or win an award. The purpose was the quiet daily devotion itself. The act of tending was his reason for getting up. It's a beautiful concept, but it's still about a purpose, a form of doing. The Italian model is radical to us because it suggests the purpose can simply be to be. But the beauty of this stage of life, Eleanor, is that we can finally examine our own programming. We can be our own software engineers and rewrite the code. The challenge for us isn't finding new things to do. It's unlearning the compulsive need to do them.
Unlearning? That's hard. It's like trying to forget how to ride a bike. The instinct is always there. The moment I sit down with a cup of tea and a book, my brain starts generating a to-do list. You could be sorting those old photos. You should call the plumber about that drip. Did you respond to that email from your cousin? It never stops. Last week, I tried to just sit on the porch. It lasted maybe 5 minutes. I started noticing the dust on the railing, a cobweb in the corner, a weed in a flower pot. Before I knew it, I was up sweeping leaves that didn't really need sweeping. I failed at doing nothing. It feels like my brain is a border collie. If I'm not giving it a job to do, it gets anxious and starts hurting the furniture.
It is. So you start small. You don't try to forget, you just try a tricycle for a little while. You give yourself a tiny, manageable assignment. Say for 5 minutes, your only job is to sit and listen. Notice the farthest sound you can hear, a distant plane, and the closest, the hum of the refrigerator. That's it. You're not meditating to achieve enlightenment, you're just noticing. You acknowledge the thought, there's the list again, and then you gently let it float by like a cloud. Don't fight it, just observe it. Think of it as brain training. For decades, you trained your brain to be a high-performance engine of efficiency. Now, you're training it to be a peaceful garden. It takes time to pull the weeds of habit. Here's another little exercise, the cup of tea ritual. Make your tea, but the rule is you can do nothing else while you're drinking it. No phone, no TV, no book. Your only task is to experience the tea, the warmth of the mug, the steam on your face, the specific flavor. Can you identify it? Is it floral, earthy? It sounds simple, but it's a radical act of single tasking in a world that taught us to multitask. The quietness in your day, Eleanor, isn't a void to be filled with busy work. It's a space to be enjoyed, to be explored. That feeling of loneliness we sometimes get when the house is empty isn't a sign of failure. It's an invitation to get reacquainted with the one person you've been too busy to talk to for 50 years, yourself. So I have to ask, do you remember who you are without a to-do list?
Honestly, I don't know that I do. I was Eleanor, the VP of marketing for so long. That wasn't just a title, it was a definition. Before that, I was mom, the taxi driver, the homework helper, the chief logistics officer of a busy family. Before that, a daughter, a student. I was always defined by my role in relation to others. I was the problem solver, the team leader, the one with the answers. I miss the collaboration, the thrill of tackling a big problem with a smart team. I miss the feeling of being essential, of having people rely on me. I knew my purpose every morning. Now I'm just Eleanor. And it's a little scary because I don't know what just Eleanor is supposed to do all day. I feel invisible sometimes. You go from having a full calendar and 100 emails today to silence. It's a shock to the system.
And it's a little wonderful. You're not a title anymore. You're a person. You're not the problem solver. You're the curious observer. You're not the team leader. You're the solo adventurer. You miss collaboration? Start a neighborhood book club. You miss problem solving? Take up a complex recipe or try to build the ship in a bottle. The challenges are still there. They're just smaller, more personal, and the only stakeholder is you. It's like a ship that has spent its life carrying important cargo from port to port. Now the cargo is delivered. The ship is empty, and for the first time, you can admire the beautiful wood it's made of, the elegant lines of its design, the strength that carried it through all those storms. You're no longer in the shipping lanes. You're free to explore the little coves and inlets you never had time to see before. What does that look like? It means taking that pottery class you talked about for 20 years. It means spending a whole afternoon in a museum you've always driven past. It means finding a new rhythm that isn't dictated by a deadline. You have the time to figure out what just Eleanor enjoys. Not what she should be doing, but what brings a genuine, quiet spark of joy. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's learning a new language. Or maybe, just maybe, it's sitting on a bench and finally enjoying the quiet you so richly earned. So, for everyone listening in on our chat, for everyone who feels that little bit of Eleanor's restlessness or is curious about my armchair philosophy, we've really gone on a journey today, from the American work ethic to the Italian art of living. We're really curious to hear your take on this. Are you more of an Eleanor, feeling that constant itch to be productive? Or have you found your inner Arthur, embracing the pause?
Hey, I'm trying. I'm a work in progress. That message about idle hands is a tough one for me. My mother was the queen of that. So, here are our questions for you today. First, what's one work hard message you grew up with that's been the most difficult to let go of in retirement? Was it a phrase your parents used? A societal expectation?
That's a great one. And second, a practical one. How do you personally draw the line between rejuvenating rest, the kind that truly fills your cup, and what you might feel is laziness? Is there a difference? And how do you know when you've crossed it? For me, it's about how I feel afterward. If I feel restored, it was rest. If I feel lethargic and guilty, it was probably laziness. I'd love to know your own personal litmus test.
And finally, just for fun, let's get specific. If you were to practice Dolce Far Niente this week, what would that look like for you? Describe your perfect moment of sweetly doing nothing. Where are you? What do you hear? What do you feel? Be as detailed as you can.
We would genuinely love to hear your stories. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Every perspective adds another layer to this wonderful community we're building. When you share your struggles and your triumphs, you make us all feel more connected, more understood.
And stick around, because in our next episode, we're talking to a couple who sold everything to live on a sailboat. Talk about a change of pace. We'll see if they've mastered doing nothing or if they're just busier than ever.
You know, Eleanor, maybe the point isn't to become useless. That word carries so much baggage, so much judgment. Maybe it's about shifting our definition of use. For decades, our use was external, to a company, to a career, to raising a family. It was measurable in reports and promotions and our children's successes. Now, our use can be internal. to be useful to our own peace of mind, our own curiosity, our own health. I once knew an old watchmaker. He spent 50 years with tiny gears and springs, measuring time down to the nanosecond. His whole life was about precision, about carving the infinite into measurable, productive chunks. The day he retired, he took off his own watch and never wore one again. He said he was learning to tell time by the sun, by his stomach, by the way the birds sang in the evening. He spent his mornings watching the light move across his living room floor. He didn't stop valuing time. He just started measuring it differently, in units of quality, not quantity. He was recalibrating his entire existence. That's what we get to do. To realize our value was never in our job title to begin with. It's in our kindness, our curiosity, our wisdom, and our capacity for joy.
You know, for a useless afternoon spent just talking, this has been thought-provoking. I can't say I feel lighter just yet. This 40-year-old habit is a heavy coat to take off. But I feel like you've given me permission to at least try to stop running from the quiet. Take a deep breath. I think I'll go home and try that cup of tea thing. Just me and the tea. I'm pretty sure I'll fail within the first 30 seconds and my brain will start making a grocery list. But maybe I'll try again the next day. It's a start. Thanks, Arthur.
That's the whole point, my friend. It's a practice, not a destination. That's the beautiful paradox of it all. The most useful thing we can do now is learn to be beautifully, happily useless. To all of you listening, if our conversation today struck a chord, please share it with someone you think would enjoy it. And be sure to subscribe for more chats like this one.
Until next time, don't work too hard, or at least don't feel guilty when you're not.
Take care of yourselves.